months work placement opportunities. Graduates, of course, must have completed an NYC or you have an exemption certificate with a qualification of second class lower or upper credit minimum for students or for fellows that are coming from the polytechnics. There's a structured mentorship, digital skills training, and entrepreneurial development that is integrated within the fellows' journey from when they get into the program, from the application phase, when they get into the pool, and then when they get onboarded into the organization, and when they now start spending the 12 months placements. NJFP 2.0 targets this, like I mentioned before, 23,000, including ensuring that we now have a smarter, more digital, more impactful phase than phase one. Now, there are 6 compelling reasons for ACCI businesses. Of course, just letting you know that we have in our pool a properly vetted fellows, fresh talents, just left university, but also we would like to emphasize that the fellows that we have in our pool, they are more like greenhorns, if I would use that word, permits me to use that word. Now, what I mean is that they do not have the expertise that you think that they might have. They remember that the objective of the program is to provide employability opportunities, right? So where they gain their skills, they hone their skills, they grow and now become, they now gain these skills so that they become employable, or they can even go off to start up their own businesses. But just letting you know that one of the compelling reasons that for ACCI businesses to join the NJFP is that you have access to fresh talent, 0 stipend cost. I'm sure most of us will be wondering, how do we get these guys into our program? Are we mandated or obligated to pay anything? No, because the program already takes off the burden of the stipend, if I'll put it this way, which is 150,000 every month. Of course, in terms of the strategic visibility, you have working directly with the federal government of Nigeria, EU, and the UNDP is also a compelling reason for ACCI businesses to join, and of course the proven track record that we have, especially in the implementation of the first phase up until now. So again, now what do you provide? So say, for example, you have passed, as an organization, you've passed through the entire process of vetting, and you are now in the pool to now begin to select fellows. It's also important to sort of give us a bit of an insight of what you are going to provide as an organization and what the program will likely cover on our own part. Now, your responsibilities, of course, would be to provide a meaningful 12-minute work placement opportunities for these young people, ensure that there's regular supervision and mentorship, ensure there is a conducive professional work environment. We cannot stress this enough, a conducive professional work environment. What it then typically means is that for fellows that will be posted and onboarded to your organization, yes, once they get into your organization, they become a staff of your organization. Now, what it then means is that the staff handbook, as it applies to the current staff that you have in your organization, also applies to them. But there's a caveat to that. Now, the caveat is that irrespective of the fact that the staff handbook applies to them, the program would only recognize the working hours and the working period as stipulated by the Nigerian labor laws. Now, what we typically would mean is that, of course, the fellows that are posted in your organization would not be expected to work on weekends. They would not be expected to work on weekends. And if there's a time period of when your organization functions, say 8 to 5, what it then means is that as they are if they will be required to spend extra hours on the job, it then means that they will be required to be paid an overtime. So we're also being very careful just to make sure that we don't have organizations that will abuse the working conditions that is right for these fellows on the program. So again, you'll be required to, at every point, provide or certify the monthly attendance for these fellows. I'm sure would also be asking, what is the accountability mechanism? What does it look like? Since the stipends do not come directly from us as a host organization. Now, the program has also been able to properly integrate an accountability mechanism on the program. So what it means is that fellows that are working with you will be required to fill out like a timesheet. But before the timesheet gets to the UNDP team for approval, it has to go through you for your approval. Now, there's a first level approval that needs to be done. Of course, at this point, you can either accept it, you can reject it, or you can ask the fellow to rework the attendance and then, resubmit for certification from your own end. Until that certification comes from you, the fellow will not be paid. I think it's also important to stress that. So optional, again, like I mentioned before, you are not obligated, you're not mandated. But again, given the economic realities that we currently are in the country, if you are led or if you think it's important from your perspective to add to what they currently earn, either you want to pay them or you want to provide lunch for them or you want to provide some level of transport, whatever it is that you want to do, just know that it is completely optional, but it is encouraged. Right? Now, what exactly would the program be covering? Of course, letting you know that the 150,000 naira monthly stipend is 100% paid by the program. Even in the application phase, letting you know that there are no hidden costs or no hidden costs, particularly. There's also going to be the digital skills training, and the program will also be able to integrate a strong mentorship and coaching component, and also the learning management system, that's actively dives deep into the employability skills and also the entrepreneurship skills that we have on the program. We have the mentorship support. We have dedicated mentors on the program that at every point the fellows will be interacting with, just to also sort of grow them in the industry. And now there's also a program support via the talent management companies. Now, across the 6 regions, we also run a very decentralized coordination mechanism. And this is because we also do not want to sort of put so much stress on the NJFP team. And so what we've been able to do is to have a talent management company in each of the regions. So I'm sure most of us will be asking, for businesses that are not in Lagos, that are not in Abuja, how can I receive support, as it were? Yes, we have a decentralized way of working, which is working with the talent management companies that are more like the boots on ground for the program across the region. So for the North Central, we have, for the Northeast, all of the regions, we have dedicated companies that handle the talent management, as it were. I think I've stressed this before, but in terms of the fellow quality, letting you know that they are pre-vetted, they are program tested talent. I think it's also important at this point to sort of run us through how the application phase would typically look like and what is expected from the fellows. Now, up until the time that the start of the application process, fellows are required to get onto the site, www.njfp.ng, and then begin the process of application. Now, at the first instance, you will be required, the prospective fellow will be required to enter their national identity number. Now, when they enter the national identity number, their information or their biodata is fetched from the NAMC database and then is validated against what the prospective fellow has imputed in the application form. Now, if there is a mismatch in what the fellow has imputed and what is fetched from the NAMC database, the application is stopped at that point. That's one. Now, if the information that is also fetched from the NAMC database, right, does not match the program criteria, that application is ended immediately. I'm sure you're also curious to know, the application program criteria. Now, we have stated it before, is also here, but I'm also going to stress it. For participants, especially to prospective fellows that get into the program 30 years and below. 30 years and below. And there's a reason for the 30 years and below. You'd also agree with me that most of the graduate internship schemes that are being run in the country will typically not take anybody, and I mean anybody that is above the age of 26, anybody. So that's also part of the reasons why the program needed to also structure the intake process or the intake criteria to sort of mirror the labor marketplace realities, right? That's one. Now, for fellows that are prospective fellows that are coming into the program, they should have graduated from 2026, 2022, apologies, 2022, 2023, 2024, up until 2026. Now, there's also a reason why there is a lot of emphasis on the year of graduation. You would also agree with me that for fellows that, or for individuals that have graduated in 2020, you would typically not call them fresh graduates, right? I mean, they've spent some time, and all whatnot. Now you must also have completed your NYSC. That is also very important because you would have to upload in the application process. You will be required to upload the NYSC discharge certificate. You must, as part of your educational qualification or the category of scores that you have left, you must have, of course, graduated with second class lower, or for BSc, and then for HND, you must also have an upper credit, right? Now, in the application process itself, like I started before, when the prospective fellow must have entered their NIN and fetches their biodata, and then it matches the program criteria and also matches the information as they have entered in the application form, they move over to the next stage. Now, the next stage is where they are required to upload their educational certificates, degree, university certificates, polytechnic certificates, and then they would also be required to upload their discharge certificates. Now, in vetting the certificates, these certificates are vetted by a third-party vendors, which are the talent management companies that we've mentioned before. I'm sure you're also curious to ask, oh, why is it a manual? Why is this, vetting done manually? Why is it not automated? And there's a reason to that. Now, the templates in which universities prepare degree certificates or polytechnic prepare degree certificate is not universal. So what I mean by there is no common template that universities and polytechnics use in preparing this certificate. So what it then means is that even if we integrate an OCR into the system, it's not going to be very useful, because the different universities use different templates, as they prepare the certificates that they give to their students, right? So that is why we have now incorporated more like a manual matching. We have trained them, they've been trained, they know what to do, and they are really, really rigorous in ensuring that fake certificates are identified, false certificates are identified. Yeah, that's just it. And now the next phase, when prospective fellows, of course, their certificates or their discharge certificates from NYSC have been verified, they move over to the next phase. Now, the next phase is where they will be required to write an aptitude test. It's a computer-based aptitude test. Fellows have been tested across four areas. Humanities, being tested across basic numerical skills, basic verbal skills, as it all went. But then also to point out that the aptitude test itself, that is the CBT, is also graded. What it then means is that until the prospective fellow crosses the threshold of 70% and above, that is essentially where their application process will end. But if they want to hit the 70% threshold or above, they move over to the next phase. Now, the next phase is also where they are required to do a video pitch submission. The video pitch submission is to, in 1 minute, 60 seconds, pitch to the program why they are the ideal NJFP candidate to be on the program. Please also note that the video pitch submission itself is graded and has a pass mark of 70%. So what it means is that there are possibilities that a prospective fellow can still submit their video pitch and can still pass the CBT and fail the video submission. So it's just to let us know how rigorous the vetting process is. Now, when they, of course, scale through the video submission, they are welcomed into the pool. But when you get into the pool, they are also required to complete a psychometric assessment. Now, the psychometric assessment is neither a pass or a fail test, but what it does is to actively give us insights into your personality, how you will handle workplace scenarios, and all what. And just to also let you know that for all host organizations that we have on the program, you will have access to the report, to the psychometric assessment report for the individuals that are posted to your organization. Now, after they are done completing the psychometric testing, the fellows now in the pool would also be required to complete an inbuilt CV builder on the platform. An inbuilt CV builder on the platform. Again, I just wanted to stress that this has never been done in the country. This is a pioneering model, premium model, ensuring that we get the best into the program, just to let us know that in terms of quality, you're getting the best. They are pre-vetted, they are program tested talents. Now, remember we had mentioned that this is the second phase of implementation. So what it typically means is that we've had fellows that have gone through the program, and they have been offboarded into the talent hub, letting us know that yes, the platform is currently being set up, but when the platform is completed, prospective fellow host organizations like yours can also get onto the platform and then select the fellows that have passed through the 12-month placement and then, absorb them into your organization. So again, for the fellows quality levels just before, when you get into the pool, you can specify the role, specify the department the role specifically, and the skills that you need. You can review shortlisted candidates. You can conduct interview before the final acceptance. Now, I did run us through the entire process for the fellows. I also think it's important to run us through the application process for the post organization, what you would typically see, right, before and during the process of registration. So again, as a prospective business like yours, you get into the system, you would be required to submit your CAC, your company, just your CAC, put in your CAC, it fetches your information from the CAC database, and then you're also required to put in your TIN, your tax identification number. And after, of course, when you're successful, you move over to the next phase where you'll be required to submit an initial 3 pictures of your organization. Now, there are several reasons to that. Remember that this program is across the country, and there is certainly no way the team will be everywhere at the same time. So what it actively does for us is the first line of verification that we would typically see is from the pictures that you will be submitting. Now, you'll be required to, of course, submit a picture of your workspace, a picture of the environment, and all of that. Now, what it does for us as a team is to actively know if we will be proceeding with your organization or not. That's one. Then 2, we also want to be sure that your business has a legal and physical existence. Now, 3, you also agree with me that we have all sorts of individuals, and you could have kidnappers, you could have the bad people masquerading as host organization to also take fellows on the program. So that's also the reason why you would be required to do a first level check sort of on your organization by submitting those pictures. Now, after the first level check, you would also be expected to receive a team of about 2 or 3 persons that will do a physical inspection and verification of your business. Now, remember, you have submitted your pictures. Your pictures have given us insights on how your business operates. Now, we would also be required to do a physical inspection of your business premises, of your business space. After that, once the team on ground certifies your business and it's good to go, you can get into the pool and you can now begin to now where in the presentation where you can now specify the skills that you need, indicate the roles that you would be filling out. You would also, when you get into the pool, you can select the fellows, you can conduct interviews. So that's also a very, very important aspect that we needed to sort of tweak in NJFP 2.0 is the ability for host organizations to get into the pool and select. And when you select, you schedule interviews. And when you schedule interviews, you accept them before they get onboarded into your organization. I already had stressed this. Of course, you register, you upload your documents, you get verified, you indicate the needs that you want, you receive your match, then ultimately these fellows get onboarded to your organization. NJFP 2.0, of course, directly supports your business goals. Pursuit employment, the skills development, of course, actively in the private sector engagement, building the talent pipeline, and even for your corporate reputation. So please take action today. We have a barcode that you can scan. Please scan to register as a host organization and also help us to shape Nigeria's future. I'm going to just leave this bit. Once you scan the code, it takes you directly to the registration page where you can start off your registration as soon as possible. We also have the social media handles on X, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on Instagram. Just use NJFP for LinkedIn, use an Jubilee program. For Instagram is at UNDP Nigeria, and for Facebook is UNDP Nigeria. Now there are a couple of quick questions that you may have. We've also been able to sort of spotlight it now. I mean, that is also not to say that we're not going to take questions from us, but just to let us know the common questions that usually would get on the program. So one of them is, do we pay insurance or health benefits? Yes, and we would clarify. Typically for the host, for the staff that you currently have in your organization, I will be personally surprised if your organization or your company do not have insurance or health benefits that you pay for your staff. Remember that we have stated earlier on in the presentation that immediately these fellows are onboarded to your organization, they assume the role of a staff in your organization. So what it means is that as the staff handbook applies to every staff in your organization, it also applies to them. And typically, I mean, as my memory serves me right, I'm sure labor laws requires most businesses to have either insurance or health benefits. So yes, the standard employment practices, of course, apply for fellows within the period of fellowship in your organization. And the next question is, what if the match doesn't meet our standard? I mean, you can reject, absolutely. You can reject during the interview stage. And of course, the system will match you with the new suitable candidates. And the next question is, what happens after 12 months? Please, you can offer employment. And that is exactly the reason why we have the NJFP. One of the things we would typically emphasize is as they complete the 12 months placement and you actively would see that this fellow has contributed immensely to your organization, please go ahead and offer a permanent employment. Can we interview fellows before accepting? Absolutely, you can do that. You can review the shortlisted candidates, conduct your interviews before accepting. Can we host more than one fellow? Yes, you can, but there's also a condition to that. And as a program, we are also being very careful not to have more fellows placed than the capacity your organization can take at that point. So what I typically will mean is this. The CBN had categorized businesses across the small, medium, and large businesses, right? Now on the program, we follow that rule very strictly. So what it means is that if you are a small business that has maybe a staff strength of 10 or less than 10, as the case would be, there is just no way that you would request for more than 50 or 100 fellows. It's almost impossible. That's almost not going to work. So yes, you can host more than one fellow, but it's on the condition of the current size of your business and the size of your business and also the size of the workspace that you have. Can fellows work remotely? Well, on the program, this is more like a yes and a no, and I'll give reasons to that. Now, although the program would typically encourage flexible arrangements, either they work remotely or they work hybrid or they work on site, the program would advise that fellows that you have work on site. And there's a reason to that. Now, one of the reasons is that we've also seen over the implementation period that most of the fellows or most of the individuals that typically would request to work remotely already have a job. That's one of the lessons we've learned, and we're just sharing with you. And so what we typically advise prospective host organizations like yours is please encourage on-site where fellows are expected to come in within the working days in the week. So please do that. Now, on the condition that you can actively show to the NJFP team, UNDP team, that you have a modality and you have a structure and you have a system that will track of online or remote working, yes, the program will encourage that. But typically, what the program will encourage is on-site. So these are the questions. These are more like the frequently asked questions that we engage all the time. But yeah, I would head back to the scan code. Please scan. It takes you directly to the registration page, and then you can begin your registration at that point. This is Dr. Wei is on the call. If there's anything you want to add just before we hand over to ACCI, just let me know. Wei?
No, thank you, Chiedu. I think you've covered everything, so we can hand over.
All right, Dr. Tineke, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Chiedu. I think that presentation was very explicit and straight to the point. And from my end, I must say it's a very encouraging and very important role that this is playing, especially for businesses and for the young Nigerians to ensure their employability and integration into the work system. I think I can see some questions on the chat box, but if you think you want to speak to ask your question, you can raise your hand while we address these questions on the chat box. Okay, good morning, everyone. Okay, someone is asking if the slides can be shared. I think I would just respond to that, the The scan code is currently showing on the screen, and all necessary information could be accessed there, and even on all the social media pages that has been mentioned. Please write the link and social media links. So Chiedu, can someone just drop the social media links on the chat box so it's easier for people to access? Someone said I'm yet to scan. So we have it, we have the code back on the screen now. I hope you can scan now. How many people can you take on at a time? I think the presenter made justice to that, depend on your capability and your organization readiness. So another question, hello, is the program designed only for corporate organizations or ordinary graduates can be enrolled as well? So I'm not sure I understand that question. Chiedu, if you understand, you can jump in. That's from Fedos Mohammed. No.
Okay, all right. So I think it's yes, the program again, the program is typically designed for the public and the organized private sector and the public institutions. My assumption is that the corporate organization that you mean, of course, they fall under the organized private sector, and not sure what you mean by ordinary, but then graduates, can apply. But again, the graduates would have graduated from the period between 2022 and 2026. Must have also served in the NYSC. And they are currently, and please, I would also want to stress, currently unemployed. Currently unemployed. Now, one of the things we've typically seen over time is you have individuals that have jobs, probably they are, underemployed, they fall within the underemployment, level, and then would want to use the NJFP as a supplement income to what they currently earn. So please, when you find out that individuals on the program, or rather that you have selected during the interview phase, or maybe when they've been onboarded to your organization and find out that they have a job, please, we encourage you to let us know. The individual will be promptly taken off the program and will be replaced with suitable candidates for your organization. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. What is the projected timeline between application, physical visit for verification, and accepting fellows for an host organization?
Okay, so the projected timeline, at the moment, we have received a total application of over 17,000 from different host organizations that cuts across the organized private sector and the public sector, from October 2025 up until date. Now, the timeline is not exactly, there's flexibility in the timeline, and I would explain. There is no one structured way of how you would typically gauge the timeline, and there are reasons to that. For us, when you apply on the program, right, you would be, because remember that we have talent management companies that are across the country, and of course, they just sit in one state, even within the region. So what it typically means is that they would have to cover the entire region. While we are not directly responsible for how the timeline will be shaped, we also will encourage them to sort of fast track all applications, all pending applications that they have. So I would typically say 1 week, 2 weeks, sorry, apologies. I would say 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the talent management, the availability of the talent management companies to cover the region. We also remember that we have a backlog of applications that are currently being verified across. But then again, also put into perspective the current security situation in the country. They would also have to plan their movements just to be sure that they get security clearance, for them to move from one state to another. So yeah, just also wanted to emphasize that. But as much as possible, since you have, since we're going to be working with the ACCI, once organizations indicate that, oh yes, I'm coming from the ACCI, you best believe that you're going to have a fast-tracked verification process. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I think this was answered. What if the fellow isn't performing as you expect? Can they be relieved of their duties and get another fellow to fit in?
Absolutely. We've done that. But just to also, there's a caveat to this, right? Because I'm sure we also know that performance is a bit subjective, right? It could be that you would want a particular fellow to function in a particular way, but then they are not because of maybe a couple of other reasons. But just to let you know that, yes, it is possible, but it will be done after an extensive investigation in understanding why you think the fellows are not performing and even hearing from the fellows. So it's also to let you know that there's a balance um, of both perspectives from the fellows and also from the host organization. Once we get a balanced understanding of the performance and what is expected and what is the current status, then if it's possible, we will initiate the change of fellows from your organization back into the pool or from the pool to your organization. Yeah.
Okay, is this recorded so we can go through the training again? Yes, it was recorded and we'll share the recording. Yes, so for those asking, we have the social media links on the chat group now. Can a broadcast station radio eligible to accept fellow?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm sure once you fall within the organized private sector, yes, you can. What you just need to do is, again, ensure that your organization meets the criteria, your CAC, your TIN, you submit pictures and they verify your organization, you get into the pool and you select. Yes.
Okay, so can SME apply as well, especially those that cannot afford the insurance and health? Okay, so I guess this is for the small business.
Well, yeah, also for the small businesses. So, I mean, also please know one thing, right? The NJFP is also not in a position to give you more than you can chew, right? It's also something that we have to be sort of explicit on. So while at this point you cannot afford the health scheme, insurance scheme, the program will typically encourage you that, as you move further or as you grow in your business, these are things that you can consider, right? For expansion, creating business and a good business environment and every other thing. So yes, you can take fellows at this point. Yes, you can. But again, as a program, we would typically encourage you that as you expand and as you grow, make it a responsibility to ensure that your staff are well taken care of. So what I'm hearing now is that if you're unable to provide this for the fellows, so what it means is that even the current staff that you have do not have health insurance. Maybe I would have to sort of read up on what the labor law says around that. But if my memory serves me right, typically as a business operating in Nigeria, you should be able to provide, especially health insurance to your staff. Yeah.
Okay, so it's an amazing initiative. This program will be needing quality assurance assessors to ensure the initiative meets its set goals and objectives. I'm sure UNDP has that covered already. So if workers are coming from a different state, who takes care of the accommodation?
Okay, so yeah, I think it's also something that I did not emphasize. In the application process, please know one thing, right? And that is the state that you register as your primary state of business becomes the state that you can only assess fellows in, except in cases where you have indicated on the system that you have business presence in more than one state, two states, or three states. So please note that for fellows, what we consider on the program is usually the state of residence, not state of origin, state of residence. So what it means is that if as a business you have indicated that the FCT is your primary state of business, you cannot see fellows in Kaduna. You cannot see fellows in Anambra. You would only see fellows that are resident in FCT on the dashboard. So yes, you are not going to have to take care of any relocation cost or accommodation. No, because the fellows you would have access to are fellows only that you have indicated to be in your region, or in your state, not region. Just to stress that.
Okay. Okay, so I think how much are they being paid? That was mentioned. That's what 150,000 naira. What if I currently do not pay my staff up to the 150,000? Okay, let me allow Chiedu to respond to this, but I think it's straight answer.
So yes, yes, you don't. Yes, there are also possibilities that you don't pay your staff up to 150,000 naira. I mean, and it's also perfectly fine, because at this point we also do not have a full knowledge of the business and your size of business, where you're on the sectors that you operate in and all whatnot. And that's also one of the reasons why, if you have recalled earlier in the presentation, we did mention that we have an accountability mechanism on the program. For small businesses, we've seen, at the initial implementation phase, where we didn't structure that accountability mechanism. So what we saw at that time was fellows not wanting to either work with small businesses or treat the owners of the business more like, if let me use the word, anyhow. Because of course you're a small business, you don't pay up to 150,000. Why should I do this? Why should I do that for you? And so that was also the reason why we had to sort of incorporate the accountability mechanism. So it then means that until you sign off, right, that is when the fellows get paid. But yeah, even if you don't pay 150,000 at this point, yes, you can go ahead to take them. Remember that we've said that the program offsets that for you, because the program pays directly into the fellows account, Where we might have a bit of an issue or situation is retaining them, because I feel at that point that is now where you have to, where you now need to discuss with the fellow and say, hey, we don't pay 150,000 here. This is what we pay. Are you willing to work with us? Can you work with us? Do you think you can still contribute even after your 12-month placement has ended? So yeah, there is, I'm sure that's now going to be a conversation that you might have, if depending on the performance of that fellow in your organization, as you look forward to retaining them.
Okay. Nice program. Can individual register single-handedly as a fellow? Yes, I think that was explicitly explained during the presentation. Please, how many fellows allowed by organizations to accept? This was also addressed earlier. Depending on your capacity, you have to prove to the program that you have the capacity to employ or to accept the number of fellows you are requesting for. Okay, so I think the question from my own end is, when does it commence? Is it already? I mean, I know host organizations can start applying now, but what is the time within which fellows are going to start to be attached to the organizations?
So please note that this has started. Yeah. This started as to October 2025. We started the entire process for the 2.0, getting placement across the host organizations, and fellows applying into the program. Even currently, the application cycle is still open. That's the second cohort of application is open. Application for host organization is also open at this point. But please note that for the program, both the application phase for the fellows and the host organization will end by June of 2026. Remember that we had mentioned that the program, the second phase of the program is for June of 2025 and will end in June of 2027. So what it typically means is that all placements must end in June of 2026 so that they can run the placement period of 12 months up until when the program will end in June of 2027. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Do we have any other question? I think I saw a hand. Fidos Mohammed.
Yeah.
Has your question been answered? Okay, so
Yeah, and I think like the questions that she had or the comments, they were just about
okay. So thank you very much. At this point, I'd like to appreciate everyone for joining, for taking your time to join this, and I will also encourage us to register. Hello? Okay.
Yeah. Good morning. Hello?
Yes, you can go ahead. That's a question.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I have a question. I love the presentation and I love
You're not very audible. You might either want to speak to the mic or something, please.
are you hearing me now?
Yeah, you sound a bit distant from the mic. I'm not
What
sure what
about
the problem is. Are you using a mic? Are you using an earphone, headphone? So you
No,
sound
I'm
really
using
distant. Okay, we can't hear you properly. So you might just want to either type in the chat box or maybe send your questions to Dr. Tinuke. She would definitely get to us, but I can't hear you.
Okay, let me join through the other device.
Yes, you can drop it on the chat box.
Yeah, just drop in the chat box or send it to her later. Yeah.
Yes, for those that are having challenge scanning the code.
But I mean, I'm just gonna share this then with Ashraf, and then we can decide.
For those having challenge scanning the code, the link has been dropped in the chat box. You can also reach out to us at the ACCI.
And please, it's here. You also have NJF. Just type in www.njfp.ng. That's all. Just www.njfp.ng. And then you can go ahead to scan. I mean, go ahead to start the registration process.
That was also something they had requested, so I don't.
Okay, so if there is no any other
Can you hear me now?
Okay, I guess it's better.
Yeah, I think it's better now. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So good morning, and my name is Firoz Muhammad Noor, and I am the CEO of ITA Global Concept, and I love the way the presentation is done and the organize this project. But my question is that, like, you said something about if your state of operation is in FCT and you want to enroll some of your staff, so you don't have the responsibility of taking their logistic and then their accommodation. But in my own case, actually, my office is situated in the FCT, but I have my operational state, which we used to formally operate there in other states. So if you would like to enroll our staff in the other state, most especially what I wanted to do, because we have a fresh graduate that we used to take their database for empowerment and some other vocation training that we used to give them a helping hand. So this graduate, actually, they are not our legal employees. So if I want to adopt like this fresh graduate that I'm not even paying a salary to this project, what is the process?
Okay. I'm sure we actually ran through the process. But just to stress on the first part of your question or comment, is that please, during the application process, you would be required to enter your states, the different states that you have presence in. And then again, like we mentioned, if you complete the application phase, indicating the different states that you have operational presence, you can only select fellows in those states. So yes, there's a possibility that in the application phase, you can select multiple states that you have operational presence. Please, very important, you will select the states that you have multiple states that you have operational presence. That's really very important. For the application phase, it's quite straightforward. We've stated it before. You scan the barcode that you currently have. It takes you to the page. You enter your CAC details, your TIN details, fetches your information from the respective databases of CAC and TIN, verifies these details. You're required to submit a 2-3 picture of your organization, and then when that gets verified, you would now receive or you would receive a team of fiscal verifiers, just to be sure that the pictures that you've uploaded, just to be sure that the information you've given in the initial stage of application is correct and matches with what they're currently seeing. Afterwards, when that gets verified, you are now in the pool. You can access fellows, you can schedule interviews with them or for them, accept the fellows that deem suitable for your organization, and then they get onboarded to your organization and then begin work.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so Dikachi, do you have a question? And that will be the last one because we have
Okay,
to
thank
close.
you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Yeah, my question is for an establishment that has already maybe is trying to move from the current office establishment to another one, maybe because of renting being high and all that, and wants to get to another place, and we are still scouting for an office space based on we cannot continue with the rent of the former place, and you are giving us up to June to submit our place of residence. Are you saying that if the place is still new and we're still working on it, we can still take our pictures and send it to you and to still be verified? I just wanted to know so that I'll know if I go ahead, because if we are able to get people that are going to work for us, it means okay, we can definitely now put in more money to rent a good area for our establishment. So I just wanted to know if it's not set up to the capacity that you want at that time, that deadline, what happens? Because most of us are just relocating from the eyebrow areas where we were before, places like Jubilee, to somewhere like Abuja, because of rent. Rent is high here in Abuja. I just wanted to know if we'll be giving that consensus. Thank you.
Okay. So I think at this point it's a bit not exactly sure how to respond, because again, remember that we said that it's important that we would have, as a program, we have a team that would physically inspect your business premises. So I got lost at that part that you talked about, that you don't have a physical business premises. Owing to the fact that you're moving. If you don't have a physical presence,
there's a physical place, but we are moving. We are moving and scouting for another place. So I'm not asking, what if we get a place now and we send pictures, or your people come to investigate and see, and maybe they were just setting up. No, I'm just trying to let you know.
No, I don't think so. It's not a problem. So I don't think it's a problem, right? The current place of business that you're using now is conducive. Typically, I would assume that if you currently have a space that is conducive, your staff can work very well in that place. I would assume that whatever you're moving to, irrespective of the rent difference, is also going to be conducive, is going to be, would be a good working environment for your staff, right? So whether you will be moving, I don't think it's something that it's entirely up to you, right? But if you have a current space that is conducive enough, I would typically, I'm just going to assume that you're going to move to another space that is conducive for your staff, right? So if you have a physical presence, you currently are now, you run your business, but you hope to move, it's not a problem. Just go ahead, take those pictures, upload them,
Okay.
and then the physical verification team, of course, will now know if it is conducive enough or not.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
And do you know the organization of that, please?
Over to you, Dr. Tinuke.
Yes, thank you very much to everyone, the participants. Thank you so much. So we are going to bring this to a close right now. Dr. Wade, do you want to say something?
No, I've left you in very capable hands. I think really just to say thank you to ACCI for also accepting to provide this platform for your members, and to the DG for his presence here as well. Dr. Tinu, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. So we'll bring this to a close right now, and we look forward to everyone here and others you are going to share. Please feel free to share this information with everyone within your circle, especially those that will need this kind of fellows within their work environment. So we look forward to your feedback and to your responses to the registration as host organization. And once again, if you have any challenge, if you need to make any inquiry, kindly reach out to us at the Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and we'll respond to you. So on this note, I'll say everyone to have a blessed afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you. Bye.